Hello everyone. I'd like to welcome Jeanie Paterson, Associate of Kaizen Solutions and a principal with her own private practice, Full Spectrum Consulting and Coaching Services. Today we're going to explore the topic of knowing and leading self. We'll talk about what it is and how this self-awareness approach can effectively support professionals both in formal and informal leadership roles. And at the end, I'd also like to let you know about our upcoming Knowing and Leading Self e-course, which Jeanie will be facilitating. Knowing and Leading Self is one of our courses offered through eLearning to Flourish. So let me tell you a little bit about Jeanie. Jeanie is a certified professional coach, organizational consultant, and facilitator. She has been assisting organizational and individual clients to enhance and sustain their creative capacity, resilience, and ability to navigate change and uncertainty for more than 25 years. Jeanie is deeply committed to helping organizational leaders cultivate empowering professional and personal choices that best support their ability to thrive, often amidst ever-changing circumstances. Jeanie works extensively with both formal and informal leaders who are interested in exploring and enhancing their leadership development skills and overall organizational effectiveness. Jeanie holds an MA in Leadership Studies and is certified as an appreciative inquiry, personality dimensions, and coaching out-of-the-box facilitator. And she is keenly poised to facilitate our forthcoming Knowing and Leading Self e-course. Welcome, Jeanie.
Thank you, Val. I'm really happy and excited to be here today.
Yeah, I'm glad that we can do this. So, Jeanie, why don't we just jump right into it? So, what does it mean to know and lead self? Like, aren't leaders leading other people?
Well, that's a really great question, Val. And I've come to understand that the more we understand our own personal leadership preferences, strengths, and abilities, regardless of whether we find ourselves in formal or informal leadership roles, the better able we are to guide and support others. Really, it's about knowing and understanding ourselves first in order to, one, be highly effective in service to others, and two, to enhance the quality of our own workplace satisfaction and successes. And sort of building on that, it's about stepping away, or this e-course supports us to step away from life's busyness or constant immersion in the doing aspects of life, and creating some reflective opportunities to step back and take stock of what truly matters. And this, in turn, leads to added self-awareness and insights which can be applied to enhancing one's personal leadership approach, as well as improving our interpersonal relations. And so it's really key to supporting ourselves as leaders in the work that we do.
So it sounds, Jeanie, that this topic is really relevant to our listeners.
Well, it really is, and more we're finding that this is a piece that we don't always support and create the permission to explore. And the more we're able to invest in this kind of coursework, the more we're generating insights, clarity, and levels of discernment in key areas. And this sense of clarity really helps to inform and enhance our overall leadership and workplace effectiveness. So it's about stepping back. It's about the opportunity to reflect. And we often don't give ourselves a lot of permission to go there.
So, Jeanie, would you say that leadership has changed kind of or evolved over time? And if you do, how has that happened?
Well, based on my own experience and research that I've done, in my experience, earlier leadership models and theories primarily focused on and prioritized the need to seek ways to lead others. And although this perspective still holds some value and relevance, innovative thought leaders like Daniel Goleman, the author of Primal Leadership, suggests that the most effective leaders are those who know and understand their own natural tendencies and abilities, as well as being aware of what challenges us and what creates a sense of vulnerability. And he would go on to suggest that through better knowing and and leading oneself, we can more effectively know and lead others. And this is called sort of the realm of intra, spelled I-N-T-R-A, leadership, or the leadership within. And the reason I bring that up is that I make the distinction between intra, being sort of inner leadership, and inter-leadership, which is more the interpersonal aspects of leadership. Does that make sense?
It sure does. Mm-hmm. And, earlier we would be focusing more on the inter, right?
That's right.
The interpersonal relationships. And now you're saying what they're finding in the research is the intra leadership is just as important, if not maybe more important?
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't want to go so far as to say that one sort of takes precedence over the other, but I think it's about a blend of both.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about the more we understand and model best practices for ourselves, the more we can support and be of service to others.
Mm-hmm.
So, leading research suggests that effective leaders who know and understand themselves are highly aware of their own inner strengths, what their core values are, what their assumptions are, maybe some of their vulnerabilities as well, and core beliefs. And research also states that leaders who consciously foster self-awareness and personal mastery tend to be far more effective when navigating organizational challenges, uncertainty, transitions, as well as new opportunities. So there's huge benefit to be derived by having that understanding and knowing of self.
I can see that. So Jeanie, if you were going to offer our listeners a few tips or a few takeaways, what would you give them? What would you say to them?
That's a really interesting question, Val. What comes up for me when you pose that is that it's more about, I guess, what emerges is the thought-provoking philosophical takeaways. And again, I might be reiterating what I've already sort of touched on, but the more we understand ourselves and our own personal approaches to leadership, the better are we able to understand and support others. And I think one of the things that there's this human tendency to be judgmental and not very compassionate towards self. So one of the focuses and intentions of this e-course is to really invite a sense of being very non-judgmental and compassionate with ourselves in the quest to know and lead ourselves. And in doing that, how does that change the way we view or feel about ourselves? And it's also about playing to our strengths. Society tends to focus on areas of our humanness that need improvement, whereas people like author Marcus Buckingham writes about playing to and emphasizing our strengths versus focusing on the deficits or areas for future growth. And I would really describe that as a paradigm shift in thinking. So this e-course is an invitation to sit with that premise and some of these other premises and check in and say, does that resonate for me? This is a real shift in my thinking and approach, but how, if I were to open up to, for instance, the emphasis of playing to one's strengths versus deficits, how would that change the way I engage in the work that I do? How would that change my relations with myself and with others that are my colleagues or peers or direct reports? So those are some of the tips that emerge for me. They're perhaps less tangible than others, but it's about sort of looking at some of the philosophical premises that we've held up to now and examine them a little bit more closely in non-judgment and say, do they still fit? Do they fit for me? Do they fit for the work that I do? Do they fit for the organizational context in which I find myself? So it's about those thought-provoking takeaways.
All right. Jeanie, I love the idea of the shift in thinking in one's approach and focusing on our strengths rather than our limitations. And as you said, the research is there to support that that's the best direction to go in. Yeah.
Or at least it needs kind of the same amount of airtime, if you will. You know what I mean? Often been downplayed for whatever reasons, and I don't even think it's worth kind of going into to further understand why that might be taking place. But I think it's about a rise in consciousness that invites us to say, well, hang on, this also has a place at the table.
Yes, yes. So would you say that there's one best approach to knowing and leading self, or are there many? And how would one know which approach is most suited for them?
Yeah, another great question. You know, there are many schools of thought and approaches to knowing and leading oneself. And I would say that this e-course is looking at a current assortment of key research related to professional leadership best practices. And it's really designed to encourage participants to approach and undertake the coursework in ways that will best meet their needs and thus produce the most beneficial learning results possible. So it's about taking the concepts that we'll be exploring and looking at how they fit for each of the participants. And it really is an invitation to say, you know what, this fits really well, or this I want to know more about. But it also might be, you know what, this doesn't resonate for me, and this is an approach that I would want to integrate. So if nothing else, it's an invitation and giving ourselves permission to sit with the concepts, sit with the approaches, and say, what really best suits me? And how do I want to further integrate what is effective for me in terms of knowing and leading self approaches into the work that I do? And one other piece I really like to facilitate is harnessing the wisdom and the learning collectively that's found in the room. So I love the opportunities for the people who choose to take this e-course to bring in their own inherent wisdom and their own knowledge and contribute to a collective sort of potpourri of wisdom that we can all draw and learn from. So to answer your question, it's very individualized, and I think what we can do is we can offer concepts, models, and assessments that people can then start to evaluate and articulate whether or not this is a good fit for them, or perhaps they'd prefer other approaches.
Great. Jeanie, I love the notion of harnessing the talent, in the room, right? Like recognizing that we all bring something to the table.
We absolutely do.
And as a facilitator, kind of helping that grow and nurturing that. And I know you're very good at doing that in the courses, so thank you for that.
Well, you're welcome. And it just creates an enrichment, right?
Yes.
I mean, we're all here to learn, me as much as anyone else who chooses to participate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, I'm always curious to talk to, our experts, to people like yourself, about a personal kind of, your own personal journey. And, how would you say this topic area has informed your own personal leadership style or your journey?
Well, it really has, and I can tell that I've moved more and more into these realms. About exploring and better understanding myself. And I think over time, as you alluded to earlier, the earlier research models that I too had studied focused more on the interpersonal. And again, as I want to shine the spotlight on the value of that. But as I go deeper, as I go inward, I'm aware that I'm creating a much richer, deeper realm of understanding about myself. And not only does it relate to the work that I do within an organizational or business or professional context as it pertains to leadership, but it also is influencing and guiding my own personal life. So what I like is it allows me, when I go in, to better know and understand myself. I would say that it's really informing almost every aspect of my life. And the more I take time to reflect and create the space to go there, the more I'm finding that I'm standing in my own sense of authenticity and integrity, and it's a place that I'm feeling very grateful to be journeying in. So it's informed me immensely, and it will continue to, because I really perceive it to be a lifelong pursuit.
Wow, lovely, Jeanie. It sounds like you're going to be a wonderful role model for our course participants as you guide them through this process. I'm so happy that you're going to facilitate the Knowing and Leading course again. It was really well received last time, and so I'm looking forward to it again. I'm wondering if you can just give us a little taste about the course, what people can expect.
Absolutely. So this is a 6-week self-guided e-course, and each week we're going to be exploring personal leadership topics related to better knowing and leading ourselves. And so in the first week, we're going to create a bit of a snapshot of self-awareness around better understanding our personality type. And for many people, they probably have done or undertaken various personality type assessment indicators. And so it might be a refresher. It might be something new, and it would be interesting to see whether or not personality has shifted in any ways over time. So that kind of is where we're going to start in week 1. And then building on that, want to really have us take a look at, have we identified our core values, and are our core values in alignment with the work that we're doing right now? So really it's about identifying and aligning and living our core values. And that's, again, an area that we don't always create space to explore. But it's also an area of vulnerability, so we need to be very non-judgmental when we go to this place. And in week 3, I'm really excited to be exploring the work of Brené Brown. And she's done a lot of research around embracing our gifts of vulnerability and imperfection. And what would that look like to recognize and realize that these gifts are actually our teachers? And how can that inform our personal leadership approach? And then, as I alluded to earlier in I might have not mentioned that it's week 4, but we're going to, in week 4, look and gain a better understanding of Marcus Buckingham's work around how we can play to our strengths in the work that we do versus focusing on our deficits. Week 5 is going to take a look at some of the work of Daniel Goleman around emotional intelligence. And this is really, it's interesting. Emotional intelligence has been around that topic area for a long time, but it's really making a comeback, certainly in the realms of coaching and supporting others in the workplace. So this is going to be another key topic area that we're going to explore in week 5. And then in week 6, I want to really kind of pull it all together in terms of reflecting back on the topics, the discussions, the dialogues that we've had in the 5 prior weeks, and then looking at how we can tie it all together into creating a personal leadership call to action. So that's kind of it in a nutshell, Val.
Wow, it's just such a great course. I took your first course that you delivered and really found it to be, I don't know how to describe it, like it's such a journey of self-discovery. And you think, well, I know my personality, I know what my values are, and I think I know what my strengths are. But with it being this structured approach and applying it to this concept of leadership, it was very powerful. And so I, as I hear you say it again, I think, yeah, that was a great course. It was.
Thanks, Val.
Yeah.
And it really is a chance to kind of just check back. If we've explored a lot around personality or values or whatever, it's also can create a bit of a check-in.
Mm-hmm.
How, yes, I hold these near and dear, but how am I I aligning and how am I integrating them into my personal and professional life? So if nothing else, it might be a refresher and an invitation to make sure that they're in really front and center as we make choices, take action, or make decisions for ourselves.
Right. So Jeanie, is there a particular person who should be taking this course? I mean, is it for people who are already in leadership roles or emerging leaders, or can anybody take it?
Well, I really wanted it to be very opening and welcoming to anyone at any point in their leadership journey. So the way we've designed it is that it's open to emerging leaders, it's open to people who find themselves in formal as well as in informal leadership roles. And it's a call and an invitation for people who have an interest in gaining further insights, perspective and understanding into how they can enhance their own current personal leadership approaches and become even more insightful and effective than they already are. So it's really about building on their point of entry, whatever that might look like.
And you know, your notion about formal and informal leadership, like really, we are all in leadership roles, aren't we?
We are. And whether it's leading ourselves or it's the opportunity to, as you say, step into a leadership role with our peers or our colleagues, I think that's a premise that's really important to bring forward at this time and say we are all in leadership roles, maybe not all the time.
So, Jeanie, this has been fabulous for me, and you've just given us so much information here. I'm wondering, is there anything else that you would like to share with our leaders before we finish off here?
Well, I guess I'd like to sort of paint a picture that this e-course of Knowing and Leading Self is really about creating rich learning opportunities to kind of dial back the busyness in favor of creating space to reflect and reaffirm what's really, truly important in life and the work that people are undertaking. And I like to view it as a positive strategic investment or deposit that contributes to each person's unique sense of well-being and effective personal leadership.
Excellent. Thank you. Well, I want to thank Jeanie. This is Jeanie Paterson from Full Spectrum Consulting and Coaching Services. And Jeanie will be delivering this course, Knowing and Leading Self. If you want to know more about Jeanie, you can go to her website, www.fullspectrum.ca, and note that there's a dash between full and spectrum. So www.full-spectrum.ca. And to learn more about the Knowing and Leading course or any other courses that we offer online, or to sign up, you can go to www.elearningtoflourish.com.
And Val, if I could just add one more detail, and that is that we're going to offer this course again later this spring. So the starting date is April 24th, and it'll run for 6 weeks, completing on June the 7th, and it's self-directed. People can anticipate to spend about 2 to 2.5 hours a week at times that can work for them. And so I really am looking forward and hoping to have a rich learning journey with folks who would like to know and lead themselves more. So
excellent.
I'm looking forward to this opportunity.
All right. Thank you so much, Jeanie, for taking the time out of your busy schedule and doing this interview with me. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Val. Have a great day.
Okay, bye-bye.